So the iPhone 12 comes without a charger in the box. Apple says it's to reduce e-waste and carbon emissions, and while that sounds right in the long term, a lot of us think that that's kind of an excuse. But as a product manager and as an Apple fan, I think that I have a pretty good hunch as to why Apple actually removed the charger from the box, and why a bunch of other features that a lot of people really want were also missing from this year's iPhone 12. So stick around and we're gonna dig into the minds of Apple designers and engineers to figure all of this out. If you don't know me, my name is Matt Horton. I am a product manager and a musician making tech and gaming analysis videos here on YouTube. I make videos that dig deep into the wider effects of the decisions that these tech companies make. And if that sounds interesting to you, please like this video and please subscribe to the channel and you'll get more of those every week. Did you watch the iPhone event this year? If you did, you might have had the same strong negative reaction to the Verizon ads spread throughout the entire thing. Verizon was there to talk about 5G.
5G just got real. 5G ultra-wide, 5G enabled stadiums, 5G ultra-wideband provides you with super low latency.
So yeah, the iPhones have 5G. And they said that meant that we could download full seasons of a TV show while we were on the go, if that was a thing that we want to do or even can do. And they said it also meant that we would stay secure because we were avoiding public Wi-Fi. So yeah, the benefits of 5G were pretty unclear. And while I think 5G will be a great thing, I don't think it is a great thing yet. And considering how Apple pitched it, I don't think they're convinced it's a great thing either. Apple usually pitches features when they're solutions to a problem. They don't just usually add new pieces of tech to a phone. This felt like adding in a chip just because they wanted to. But the thing about 5G is that it has the opportunity to be really lucrative for the carriers. They can get you to upgrade your phone plan to include 5G. They could move you to their wireless residential services because millimeter wave 5G is that fast. It's sometimes faster than fiber services. In fact, we've seen Verizon already start selling residential 5G internet. Getting into pessimistic territory, I think that it could let them use the same wireless spectrum excuse for their at-home internet services as they do on their mobile plans to excuse things like data caps or zero rating or throttling or any other user-hostile management technique for their networks. Again, these are tactics that let them raise prices for their services. So needless to say, carriers want 5G in every device that they sell in their stores, especially the iPhone. Now, Apple is a historically intense negotiator. They negotiated with AT&T, nay, singular, to make sure that the iPhone didn't have any bloatware or carrier apps on it when it launched in 2007. And that's still how things are today. If you go pick up an Android phone at an AT&T store or a T-Mobile store, it's gonna have a bunch of apps on there that you probably don't want. But despite the iPhone's cultural and market power, most people in the US buy phones from their carriers. So displaying those carrier stores is important both for the carriers and for the manufacturers, including Apple. Now, carrier stores are always going to display iPhones, but if the iPhone didn't include 5G in 2020, it would probably get less prime placement than it does. In fact, most carriers are more than happy to push a 5G Samsung phone on you because it has 5G and they can sell you those services. So 5G means that Apple has less negotiating power with the carriers. But that's not all. You see, Apple needed something from these carriers. When a company like Apple makes decisions about features that go into a product, they're considering three things: the value to the customer, the value to the business, and technical feasibility. And the first of those is the one that I want to talk about, the value to the customer. Now, Apple starts by making sure the device is as desirable as possible. This is why last year, they took out 3D Touch in favor of more battery life, because they know that battery life is more desirable than 3D Touch. It's also why you don't see 120 Hz refresh rate on the screens this year, because when combined with 5G, the battery life would decline. Again, battery life is more important than having a high refresh screen when it comes to desirability. But on the other side of value to the customer is cost, and 5G is expensive. In 2019, Apple settled a lawsuit from Qualcomm regarding 5G technology. Essentially, Qualcomm said, you can't use 5G technology without paying us a licensing fee, even if you made it yourself. And Qualcomm won. Apple bought the entirety of Intel's smartphone modem business in hopes of building their own modems and antennas. But in the meantime, they signed a deal to use Qualcomm parts for a number of years. And Qualcomm charges a lot for those 5G parts. The cost just to include 5G in the iPhone is around $80 to include what's called sub-6 gigahertz, the slower but more widespread version of 5G, and about $130 to include millimeter wave, which is the super fast but not really rolled out and hard to find version of 5G. And this is not to mention that the iPhone 12, the base model, moved from an LCD screen to a more expensive OLED screen. These phones have just gotten more expensive to make. But Apple also knows that they hit a price with the iPhone 11 that they can't really move that far beyond. If they went too much higher, they would risk losing sales on the iPhone 12. So to keep the iPhone 12 at that $699 price that the iPhone 11 had, they did three things. The first is that they introduced a smaller iPhone 12 mini at that $699 price. This essentially raises the price of the iPhone 12 $100, but leaves the entry point into this generation of iPhones at that $699 price. The second thing they did was make deals with the carriers to shave about $30 off the price for customers. You see, the price of the iPhone 12 mini is not $699, it's $729 if you buy it SIM-free, without an activation on one of these carriers. They got the carriers to pay for that last $30 if it was activated on one of their networks. This was part of the deal to include 5G. And the last thing they did was to take the charger and the headphones out of the box. Now, to announce this change, Apple put Lisa Jackson, the VP of Environment, Policy, and Social Issues, on top of Apple Park near the solar panels.
And many customers have moved to a wireless experience with AirPods, Beats, or other wireless headphones. And there are also over 2 billion Apple Power adapters out in the world, and that's not counting the billions of third-party adapters. So we are removing these items from the iPhone box, which reduces carbon emissions and avoids the mining and use of precious materials.
Now here's the deal. I 100% think that the climate impact of shipping chargers in every iPhone box is a good enough reason to take them out. I was convinced of that a long time ago. The CEO of Anchor, who sells charging blocks and batteries and a bunch of other things, was on an episode of the Vergecast a couple of years ago, and he's the one that convinced me. And I do believe that this is Apple's first reason for removing the charger from the box. But I think they made this change knowing full well that it would save them money in shipping and manufacturing and would save you on the cost of the iPhone ultimately. They're doing this to reduce costs on products that got more expensive to make, which is why the prices didn't go down when they took the charger and the headphones out of the box. Now, this all gets muddied when you realize that they also took the charger and the headphones out of the boxes of the 10R and the 11 that they still sell, and those products didn't get a price drop. But I don't think it's so muddied that it's wrong. Now, many have broken down the impacts that this move will or won't have, but where I fall is that I think at the long term, it's the right move, especially as others in the industry like Samsung move to take chargers and headphones out of the box as well. Now, it's not some grand historic move that's going to change everything, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's a step towards Apple's 2030 carbon commitment. But Apple is trying to make money here, and they're doing that by reducing how much it costs to make a device so they can keep it at a price that you're willing to pay and include features that are essentially required by the carriers they have to work with. They are trying to keep the new iPhones valuable to you. So let's go back to this diagram. Now, we talked about the value to you, the customer, but there's another story about missing features in the iPhone 12, and that one has all to do with the value of those features to Apple. Now, it's no coincidence that one of the biggest stories about the iPhone 12 is about charging. Now, MagSafe is a bunch of things. It's a proprietary take on the Open Qi wireless charging standard. It's a way to wirelessly charge and still be able to use your phone. It's an iPhone accessory ecosystem, and it's a revival of a beloved brand name that Apple killed not that long ago. But the thing that MagSafe does for Apple is allow them to charge manufacturers to be a part of the MFI program, something that Qi wouldn't allow them to do. If you don't know MFI, it's a program where Apple verifies certain accessories as made for iPhone or made for iPad, MFI. Now, MagSafe is better than Qi in a bunch of ways, and it makes the devices more valuable to the customer, but primarily it fits Apple's core philosophy of making money on anything that runs on or connects to the iPhone. And we saw that come up in the US antitrust hearings for the tech companies a while back. When Amazon first advertised the iPhone as a great place to read Kindle books, Steve Jobs said it's time for them to decide to use our payment mechanism or bow out. He meant that Amazon needed to use App Store payments or not be in the App Store at all. I talked about this exact kind of thing in detail in my video about Fortnite and Epic Games versus Apple, and you should go check that video out once you're done here. But getting back to MagSafe, it's not the only charging standard that Apple makes money off of. This has been the story of Lightning as well, and it's why I don't think that we'll ever see USB-C on the iPhone. USB-C is an open standard, and that's just not something that Apple can charge for. Even Thunderbolt 3, which they helped develop with Intel, is technically owned by Intel, and the licensing fees for that are gone. Moving to USB-C is potentially one of the best things that Apple could do for the environment. Standardizing the entire industry around the same port would do a lot to reduce the manufacturing of electronics that we don't need to be making. Now, Apple has made their 2030 carbon commitment, but there's also a commitment to shareholders which right now seems to be winning out when it comes to charging. Now, I trust that Apple believe in their 2030 commitment, but there seems to be a conflict between those two goals. But something that's been true for a long time is that Apple has much more of an opportunity to monetize the iPhone by limiting what connects to it via software. And that's led a lot of people to believe that we might be moving to a future of an iPhone without any ports at all. Now, people talk about how the iPhone is clearly moving from Lightning to no port at all, and we've seen credible rumors of that. We saw the headphone jack get removed, now we have MagSafe, which produces pretty good charging speeds. We have AirPods, AirDrop, and AirPrint, iCloud, Bluetooth, and the App Store, which allow data to get on and off the iPhone pretty easily. For some, there's an argument out there that the Lightning port is just not needed anymore. But I just don't buy it yet, because there's two things that you need to happen before you could get to a portless iPhone. And the first is faster MagSafe charging. Because while MagSafe is great and it seems to charge pretty quickly for wireless charging, it is not as fast charging over Lightning. And the second is data transfer. AirDrop and AirPrint and iCloud all work, but there's a whole bunch of accessories that Apple sells in their stores that wouldn't work any longer. Now, selling it in the store is not necessarily a reason to say that Apple wouldn't dump it, but think of things like the Osmo Pocket, or my favorite microphone, the Shure MV88. Think of wired headphones at all, or audio mixers. Obviously, I'm giving you a bunch of examples from an audio-visual person, but there's probably something that you've plugged into your iPhone that just wouldn't be possible anymore. And as much as Apple talks about the Pro devices being for video creators, that's a problem that they would have to solve. Now, the smart connector exists on the iPad, but as it stands, it's not meant for fast data transfer or fast charging. It's just there mostly for the keyboard. Now, new technology is invented every day, a lot of it by Apple, so I could be eating my words a year from now. But despite the rumors, I just don't think this is gonna happen, at least not yet. And if the portless iPhone does come, I don't think it's gonna be marketed to their pro users. It just doesn't make sense. Because while Apple cares a lot about the value of a product to them, that only matters if that product is also valuable to you. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. If you liked this video, you will probably also like my video on Epic Games and Apple and what happened with the Fortnite situation. It has a lot to do with what we talked about in this one. So click right here and watch that video, and I will see y'all next time.